All right, welcome in, everyone. It's Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football in the midst of bowl season. And Duke is dismantling Temple right now. So I thought, what the heck? We don't need to see the end of this game. Let's jump on and talk some college football with Miami and Wisconsin kicking off in about 35 minutes. So we'll take you right up to kickoff from Yankee Stadium in the Bronx with the Badgers taking on the Canes for a second consecutive season, of course. Wisconsin and Miami, much better football teams, ranked in the top 10 at this point last year when Miami went up 14-3 in the Orange Bowl and Wisconsin came storming back behind Alex Hornibrook, who will not play today. And, of course, Jonathan Taylor, as Wisconsin won at 34-23 to finish 13-1, but a much different situation for the Badgers. A heavy favorite in the Big Ten Western Division this year, falling to 7-5, including a game that we would not have been able to fathom just a couple months ago, losing to Minnesota 37-15 at home, losing by 22 points to Minnesota, a team that at one point had lost 5 of 6 games in the Big Ten. But we saw the kind of turnaround Minnesota was able to complete under PJ Fleck last night with a resounding 34-10 smashing, drubbing, routing, romping of Georgia Tech, 34-10, and holding Georgia Tech down just around 200 yards total offense and 200 yards rushing for an offense that, of course, has the number one run game in college football statistically. I always emphasize that statistically has the best run game in college football. Does Georgia Tech have the best running attack in college football? No, statistically, because they run it every play. Even in a 24-point loss, they only threw the ball like 12 times. So Minnesota won that game, and Wisconsin was drubbed by Minnesota. Again, the last game of the regular season, 37-15 at home against Minnesota. But the Golden Gophers, what a turnaround they have completed in the month of November and December. Still just going 3-6 in the Big Ten, but they won 2 of their final 3 games. Their one loss was a respectable loss to the division champion Northwestern, 24-14. Otherwise, they dismantled Purdue, who's going to be playing Auburn this weekend in a bowl game, 41-10. And again, they routed Wisconsin 37-15, and they routed Georgia Tech 34-10. And they did it without their leading tackler on defense, preparing for the NFL draft, Blake Cashman. They did it without their left tackle, Donnell Green, who's preparing for the NFL draft. And Minnesota destroyed Georgia Tech. That's a second loss, or that's a first loss after a Wake Forest win for the ACC. And, of course, Duke is getting the job done against Temple here easily. It's still 55-27 as Duke just poured it on after trailing 27-14 in this game. Phone lines are open at 860-325-3687. Again, we'll take you right all the way up to the Wisconsin-Miami kickoff. And let me check out the live chat. I was taking notes on Duke and Temple and the game's final. I was taking notes on the game, and then I just figured, hey, let's strike up the live stream. There was 10 minutes left in the game, and it was a 4-score game, and the game was over. 860-325-3687. 860-325-3687. And I believe we're still fine with the call-in number. We haven't used it in so long. And I did get a notification from, I think it's called Phone Burner, something about there being an issue with a number, but hopefully not. I'll put it in the live chat and we can try it out. 860-325-3687. Bowl games are hard to predict. I know, I missed this one. Dropped me to 11-1. So I picked Temple to win a close game. I picked Temple, but I did take Duke in 3 points. So that raises my record against the spread to 9-3. So we're happy with that. 9-3 against the spread. I've got Wisconsin to cover and win the game. I've got Vandy to win the game, but Baylor to cover the 4.5 points tonight at the Texas Bowl. It has been a long time since the live stream. There is much going on with Mark Rogers TV and some things that I can't disclose right this second, but just keep liking the videos, commenting to the videos, keep bringing in people that you know, whether that be family and friends or people through social media who love college football. This is the place to be, of course. And I will fill you guys in as soon as I'm able to, and we will carry on in some way, shape, or form. Is Daniel Jones going to the NFL? Hope he stays. So that was discussion throughout most of this game, especially when it got to be garbage time, was the future of Daniel Jones and him possibly being in a better position to be drafted higher, of course, with Justin Herbert declaring in the last couple of days that he's going to stay at Oregon. Interesting news there. And that has to be cause of celebration for Oregon Duck fans with Justin Herbert back. I was surprised by that decision, considering that between Herbert and Dwayne Haskins of Ohio State, they were considered to be the two top players at that position in the NFL draft. So Duke wins again over Temple 56-27. The Owls were a 3.5-point favorite in this game, and they came out and they looked good. Duke could not put any pressure on the Temple passing game. Of course, led by Ed Foley, the head coach, the interim head coach, who has now been an interim head coach for now the transition between Jeff Collins and Manny Diaz, of course. And it was only 2 seasons ago that Ed Foley was placed in the same position. He's a Temple guy, and he's on staff, of course. And he was the interim head coach for a game against, that was the Wake Forest game, the Wake Forest Bowl game against Temple, when Matt Rule left to go to Baylor. So I guess Ed Foley is just going to stick around and coach bowl games at Temple as they lose Al Golden and Steve Addazio and Matt Rule and Jeff Collins. And maybe somebody else I missed in there. So Temple came out and looked great on offense. They had all sorts of room to throw the ball downfield, even though they were missing their leading rusher, Raquel Armstead, 1,000-yard rusher, missing this game. And also one of their top players in Rock Yassin missing the game for Temple. Duke was really banged up. They lost 6 players during this game, and 2 of them in the secondary after they'd given up big plays in the first half to Temple in trailing 27-14. But it seemed like the more players that Duke lost, the better they played. Going into the game, they had Joe Giles Harris missing the game, and also Ben Humphreys, 2 of their top defenders for Duke, missing the game. Daniel Jones, fortunately, though, decided to play this game because he's still making a decision, apparently, because he is yet to announce. Maybe he's internally made the decision, but he has yet to announce his decision about the NFL draft. Hound Dog. I don't understand conference homerism, especially in the SEC. Why should I, as a Tennessee fan, root for Bama in the college football playoff? That's like a Vikings fan rooting for the Packers in the Super Bowl. Well, it's actually not. I do see the correlation, but it's not completely like that. So your players for the Minnesota Vikings, let's say, could be playing for the Green Bay Packers next season. And yes, there are graduate transfers, but they're so few and far between, and they don't stay typically in the same conference. But if you're a big Minnesota Vikings fan and you hate all the teams in your division, the Packers, Lions, and Bears, the players you're rooting for are getting a paycheck. And either when the team deems it more beneficial for them to move those players to another team, or that player has the freedom to leave and can gain more money elsewhere, they're going to leave, and you're going to have to see that player playing against your team. That doesn't happen in college football, again, for 99-point-something% of the players. And I'm not going to talk about conference pride right now, but I do believe, and this is not a right or wrong thing. This is just opinion. This is just your own approach to being a fan, your own feeling, your own thought, is that obviously some fans choose to root against their rivals and root against the teams in their conference throughout the entire season. And it comes back to make your team look worse and your conference look worse if your rivals are not successful out of conference. So, for example, for you, Hound Dog, as a Tennessee fan, let's say your team was any good right now. You're not in postseason play. It doesn't much matter. It's not much of a reflection on you if the SEC does well or doesn't do well, except for everybody in the SEC basically beat you up in going 5-7 overall. But let's say Tennessee was good. Let's say it was a couple years ago in which Tennessee was winning 9 games and going to decent bowl games. All right. If the rest of the conference does well, then that looks good on you. The obvious correlation is right there. So whether it's a selfish mindset that you want your program to look good, therefore you're rooting for your rivals to play well because that's the direct connection, or it's just, hey, I'm a person that grew up in the Midwest, or I'm a person that grew up in the South or the West Coast, and I want my area, my region to look good, my conference. It's just a matter of taste there. Merry Christmas to everyone. NCIS Fanatic 21 reminded me that, of course, only 2 days ago it was Christmas, and hopefully you caught my Christmas video. I had my daughter here on the couch. My son was coming over, and we were just about to embark on some Christmas Eve festivities, and we had a big time. Daniel Jones was awesome today. I didn't see the final statistics, but yes, he was awesome. He made a lot of really good NFL type throws. Dennis Wilson, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. You have to be pumped about, I know the season's been disappointing, but to see your Miami Hurricanes play one more time. Sense of tumor. Okay, don't root for Bama. That's fine, Tennessee fan, but the Vols will still be a bunch of losers next year, and Bama will be in the national championship game or the college football playoff. Nothing will change. Yes, you'll still be a hater. Okay. So people are asking me if Daniel Jones is going to the NFL. I have no idea. I don't know. We just heard from Justin Herbert a day ago, who was arguably the best quarterback coming out and rated the highest along with Dwayne Haskins, decide to stay at Oregon. Daniel Jones, according to the Todd McShay or the Mel Kiper Jr. board that was displayed during the game, is the third-rated quarterback, so he's awfully high. So he certainly has enough justification to leave Duke and go to the NFL. I don't know what his thoughts are. I don't know the man, and I can only speculate. Most players in his position have been leaving. So look at it that way. That most players that are in the top 3 at their position, even though there will be less quarterbacks drafted than other positions where you need a bulk of players, offensive line, for example, that most players that are rated that highly leave for the NFL. But we just had a player rated higher than Daniel Jones in Justin Gilbert, or Justin, I'm going back to, Justin Gilbert, Oklahoma State cornerback, roughly 2014. Justin Herbert decided to stay at Oregon. Somebody who's as academic minded as a student athlete who chose to go to Duke, you would think there would be a higher probability that they stay in school, just because they have, most of them, I'm not saying every individual person, but obviously a student athlete playing football coming out of high school that has a number of options and a number of choices, who chooses Duke, is thinking academics as well. Therefore, they're more likely to stay than your typical student athlete. Michigan better not ruin the Big Ten's perfect bowl record this year. Well, Wisconsin has an opportunity, NCIS Fanatic 21, to do that first as a 3-point underdog against Miami. I had a difficult time picking this game because no Alex Hornibrook, and he tore up the Canes last year at the Orange Bowl. Miami has a much better defense than Wisconsin. Wisconsin, the difference between the Badgers 2018 and 2017 is many people, I was fooled into thinking in this direction, even though I picked Wisconsin to lose 2 or 3 games. I was duped into thinking that they had a chance to win the Big Ten championship because all of the offensive personnel was coming back. Beside one primary offensive lineman, the other 4 came back. Hornibrook at quarterback, Jonathan Taylor at running back, all the playmakers on the outside back. They lost Troy Fumagalli at tight end. But the defense got ripped to shreds. And the defense was a top 5 defense in the nation last year. And they lost so many players along the front 7, even though TJ Edwards came back and Ryan Conley came back. And I believe Van Ginkel's back, yes. That they lost a whole lot more. And the secondary got ripped up with injuries. What are your thoughts on Oregon versus Michigan State in the Red Box Bowl? So I took some notes on that game. I have yet to produce a preview. On the surface, it appears as though Oregon would be the pick. They've got their NFL quarterback back, and he has incentive to play well as he is staying for another year and trying to set up for a big 2019. Oregon is not very explosive on the outside to help out Justin Herbert. They have an excellent freshman running back in C.J. Verdell, of course. And defensively, Oregon has some tremendous talent headed up by Jalen Jelks and Troy Dye, 2 of the best Pac-12 defenders. So I think Oregon's a more talented team, but they're very thin on defense, and the offense isn't very explosive compared to what we would think with an NFL quarterback and what they've had in the past at Oregon. Michigan State did not look good for most of the season. Their best win was, of course, the Penn State game on the road. Brian Lewerke, I don't know that I would opt to play Brian Lewerke in this game. He had shoulder issues, and I don't want to minimize that because that must have contributed to his flat-out lousy play. He had a 5 for 25 game. He had some awful games this year. I'm keeping my eye on Miami and Wisconsin. I'm going to take us into the opening kickoff. But I haven't made a decision on the game. I think Michigan State's offense has been atrocious this year, and they lost their best player on the outside, Felton Davis. Cody White has come back. That's good news for them. LJ Scott has had a disappointing season or seasons. Here's a kid that was the recruit for that year, had a nice freshman year with more than, and we're kicking off, and had a exceptional freshman year, but really never sustained huge success at Michigan State. He's had a nice career, but he's concluding his career at Michigan State. He's made that announcement, even though he is eligible based on injury to come back as a redshirt at Michigan State. All that said, on the surface, I like Oregon. I'm still looking into it and will make my prediction. I will have my predictions out at the beginning of tomorrow before Auburn and Purdue kick off. And of course, I want to watch this Wisconsin-Miami game, and we will get you set for this one as we have. Jack Cohn is under center, and Wisconsin has the ball in good field position. And there goes Jonathan Taylor, I believe, nearing a first down. I picked Wisconsin in this one, 24-20. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining on the live stream. I will be back with instant analysis of Wisconsin and Miami. We'll also talk the late night game with Vandy taking on Baylor at the Texas Bowl right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Like the videos, comment on the videos, share the videos, get them out there. I appreciate your support, the kind words, everything that you guys have done. I know I have solicited some comments, and certainly they will be put to good use. Wisconsin on their second play, driving close to another first down, and it's going to be the Wisconsin offensive line trying to push back, of course, with Cohn at quarterback, especially in place of Hornibrook. Less passing, And more running for Wisconsin would be the way they want to go in this game, of course. And the decision, as I stated in my preview of Malik Rocher, of playing, unless there are off the field issues involved, of playing at quarterback in this game, I think is a mistake for the Canes, as it has been a mistake for the last year and a half. I will catch you guys later following Wisconsin, Miami. Looking forward to it, and always appreciated. And we will see you soon.